Welcome into the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. I am John Walk, sports reporter with LNP, Lancaster Online, along with colleagues Jeff Reinhart and Mike Roast. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are we holding up this week?
Oh,
wonderful.
Okay. So got the walking boot on the foot, hobbling, but doing the best I can.
All right, and we've been dealing with some technical issues on my end, so if my camera looks different than weeks past, that's why I'll try to do my best here. Anyways, let's rock and roll. We are on to week 7. So the first 5 weeks was basically non-league stuff. Week 5 was league crossovers that don't count towards the league record, but they do count towards the overall. And then week 6, we finally got into league play. So we are 1 game into league play. We're going to week 7. Which is basically the second week of league play. With all that in mind, we have 12 games on tap in what is week 7 this coming Friday night. We're going to talk about all those a little bit later on, break them down, give you our predictions. But first, as always, we take a visit out to a football practice. And this week, Mr. Reinhart was out at Hempfield, where the Black Knights are off to a 4-2 start under, second-year coach George Egger.
Yep.
So tell us about what the Black Knights are up to.
Okay, good things at Landisville. Hempfield's playing really well, guys. Don't forget they beat Exeter. Good call, Mike. 17-14 on a block field goal. Found a way to win against Warwick, and then put up 40-plus last week against McCaskey. So Hempfield's really scorching. So we decided to hit Black Knights practice on Monday. Tyler and I were there. We caught up with Coach Egger, as mentioned. And we chatted with quarterback Cam Harbaugh, who's having a really good year, leads all Section 1 ball carriers with 420 rushing yards. He's got an offer from Butler, FCS. And we talked with Adam Acker, who's a really good flank kid, wide out, 20 catches, DB kid, really playing well. So, got a chance to talk with those guys. All things Hempfield, all things winning streak. Section 1 outlook and prepping for Cedar Crest. Let's take a look at those interviews now.
Alrighty, good thing going on over here at Hempfield. You guys have won 3 in a row. What's been the common denominator? What's worked the last 3 weeks to get you 3 wins in a row, and how well are you guys playing?
Yeah, so we finally have been able to come together as a team and just been able to execute, and that's been the plan from the start. And we've really come together these past 3 weeks and have really just been able to do our thing, which is play Hempfield football. And I think that's given us the upper hand, because when everybody does their job, then that's when good things happen. And it takes all 11 guys on the field for that to occur.
What's happening right on the field on Friday nights?
On the field, O-line, they're doing great. Making holes for running backs and protecting pass game. Receivers, they're getting open. And then defense, they've just been following the schemes.
What's it like when you're in a winning streak? Do you look forward to practice? What are the bus rides like on Friday night? What's the vibe? There's got to be a little more peps in the steps, I would think, when you're playing well.
Yeah, everyone's happier when you're winning, so that's good. Vibe at practice is better. Bus rides are better. They're not quiet, so that's good. And even when you see them in school, everyone's happier in school too, so that's good.
Last thing, give me some keys for Friday. Places on the field where you got to keep it clean.
Sure.
If you want to win and make this 4 in a row. How do you do that Friday?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked with our team about this Friday winning the special teams battle. If we have good field position, that's going to put us in a chance to succeed. If we're making them go 80 yards rather than 50, that's going to give us a great chance to succeed. Offensively, we just talked about the idea of executing. Not having penalties. We've had penalties in the past where we've lined up wrong or held, and those kill drives. I mean, in Section 1, you can't have 1st and 20 and get through it. You really can't. And then defensively, we always just stress the importance of tackling. If you tackle in high school football, it's going to give you a chance to win. If you don't tackle, 24 is going to run wild. Quarterback's going to be able to hit open receivers. So again, defensively, it usually is coming down to tackling. If we do all those 3 things, I think that'll give us the position to win, and that's what we're trying to do.
All right, welcome back from Landisville. All right, so we're out at Hempfield, so let's start off with that. Section 1, LL football, and what is week 7 coming up this Friday? Cedar Crest 0-1 league, 2-3 overall, going to Hempfield 1-0 league, 4-2 overall. Last week, Hempfield coming off that 41-6 win over McCaskey. Meanwhile, Crest looking to bounce back from a 42-7 loss to Manheim Township. What do we make of this one?
There are 12 games this week. 4 of them I think are scary upset potential. I don't have the nerve to pick all 4 upsets, of course. I'm going to pick one of them. I've decided I'm going to pick one of them. I'll let you know which one. But I think this is one of those 4. I think this is a trap game for Hempfield. Cedar Crest, any chance to have a decent season, they've got to get this. They still have some skill position people with good numbers. And Hempfield has not been one of these teams that scores 45 points a game. I think this is a scary game. I'm going to pick Hempfield, but man, I think maybe the Black Knights will watch this and get all mad at me, and that'll eliminate that trap game factor. And if
That doesn't happen.
I'm glad to be of service if that's the case. But
Yeah.
I think this is a really scary one. I think that's a theme. That's going to be a theme for me in these predictions this week. But I will go with Hempfield.
Oh, yeah, and if you listen to the interview there with Coach Egger, and having been there on Monday watching, they're very aware of that as well. They are not looking past Crest, and they know who's there. They're at Township next week, home with Wilson the week after. So Hempfield knows what's on the horizon, and believe me, they are not overlooking Crest. Everything on Monday was Crest, Crest, Crest. Hey, Friday, we got to take care of business here, because if they don't take care of business here, the Township games and the Wilson games are, uphill slogs just trying to stay in it. So I'm also
that's always what they say.
That's always what they say. But they seem pretty determined and focused, I thought, for a Monday practice. I thought they were snappy and into it and pretty determined. Yes, definitely snappy. I'll take Hempfield. I just love the way they're playing right now. They have figured it out. They found different ways, i.e. blocked field goal against Exeter, i.e. holding off Warwick late, i.e. scoring 40 plus and letting Harbaugh run and make plays. So I think they win here. I don't think they get trapped. But look out for Crest, because Richards had a 100-yard night last week.
Averaging 10 yards a carry.
Yes, and we told you in August he's going to have a big senior year, and he's played really well. They've missed a game. And the Marquez kid can also run the ball, and Huber's having a pretty good season piloting the ship. I'll go Crest, but I don't think it's blowout city. I think it's a good old I'll take Hempfield. Sorry, and I think it's a good old fashioned slobber knocker, Section 1 kind of a game. Slobber knocker.
How good does Hempfield's win over Warwick look now?
Oh, it's the first thing I said to George the other day. I said I've seen Warwick 3 times now. I saw them beat Manheim Central, which shut out Hempfield 14-zip, and I said that's a great win in your cap right now.
They beat LS too, Warwick.
Correct. We'll get to Warwick in a bit, but they're
I know. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm impressed with Warwick.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yep.
You mentioned Richards there. Both of you guys did as far as stats. The Hempfield defense is holding opponents to 150 rushing yards per game, which is the 6th best clip in the league. I'll go Black Knights.
There you go.
Mike, you going Black Knights? All right. Section 1, let's stay in it. Penn Manor, 0-1 league, 4-2 overall. Going to Manheim Township, 1-0 league, and 4-2 overall. The Blue Streaks, as we mentioned, coming off that 42-7 win over Crest. Meanwhile, Penn Manor coming off a blowout loss to Wilson, 40-6. I was there for that one. Penn Manor, they had that 4-1 start, best start in 7 years, and they're going into that. I talked to Coach Brew before the game, and we had a good week of practice. We're feeling confident, which, me being a Penn Manor alum, I know for the comments, just believing in yourself is almost half the battle. And then right off the bat, 2 plays in, interception, Wilson score, and they're down 7-0. It was pretty much all Bulldogs since then. And Penn Manor's offense couldn't get going, held the 10 total rushing yards. Meanwhile, Jaden Jones returns for Wilson and runs all over the Penn Manor defense. So I don't know if it's back to the drawing board, but it was certainly a wake-up call for Penn Manor. So I expect a better effort this week against Township. But Township is Township, and they're well-balanced, whereas Wilson loves to run the ball, and Blue Streaks, I think, can do both run and pass. I'll go Township. I don't think it's as much of a blowout as last week was for Penn Manor, maybe 2 or 3 scores. But I like the Blue Streaks in this one.
I think Township is the best team in our league right now.
Wow.
I was talking to Mark Evans the other day on another matter, and we started talking about this season. And he said, interestingly, when they were in overtime with Harrisburg fumbled, and the refs ruled it to be his forward progress was stopped. And he said, you look at the film and it's not even close. There's no question. And if they call that a fumble, it's a walk-off and Township wins that game. Now, take that for whatever you will. But I like the way these guys are playing right now a lot. And I like them to keep rolling.
Yeah, I may agree with you there on best team in the league right now. Right now. Yeah, they're playing. It's
not a final verdict, but right now.
No, we're halfway home and they're right there. And they've gotten better every week. One of my favorite stats of the week, Hayden Johnson, their quarterback, who you're going to be hearing about for the next 3 years. This kid's good. And he was at Penn State last week. He was on the field at Penn State visiting. The last 3 games, 59 for 75 for a devilish 666 yards, 11 touchdowns in 3 games. He's been unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That's pretty
Love Township here. John, I read your quotes from Coach Brew last week after the game. He was very distraught. He took that one hard last week, and he kind of vowed, we're going to get back. We're going to have a better week, and we're going to come back next week ready to go. And I think they will. I definitely expect the Comets to respond, but Township's kind of a different animal right now. And they got it going on all over the place. They got 3 kids who can run the ball. Nick Good, Isaiah Jones, and this Laubach kid who kind of came out of nowhere has been fantastic. And again, Johnson's just been shredding it up top. So I'll go Streaks here at home. Love the way they're going. And they get Hempfield next week. So they're not going to get caught looking ahead. Township.
All right, last game in Section 1, McCaskey 0-1 league, 2-4 overall, going to Wilson 1-0 league, 3-3 overall. As we mentioned, the Bulldogs coming off that 40-6 win at Penn Manor. Meanwhile, McCaskey coming off a blowout loss, 41-6 to Hempfield. I covered Wilson last week, and they kind of look back to form after going down to the wire with Manheim Central in what was week 5, and a game that they almost won. Their quarterback didn't have to do as much work with Jaden Jones returning, and he looks, back like he was these last couple of years anyway. 150 plus yards. He had 2 carries of over 60 yards. One went for a touchdown. And by the way, his brother Cameron Jones had an interception and then later on returned a punt for 60 odd yards for the score. So they had a good week and they're feeling good about themselves. And meanwhile, just looking at the numbers from last week, I'll credit our buddy Dave Byrne on this. McCaskey passing game held the 2 yards on 3 completions. The Red Tornado whistled 10 times for 96 penalty yards. So I think Wilson keeps rolling here, obviously, and I imagine we all will take the Bulldogs here. But Jeff, while we're on McCaskey, let's talk about something positive for a change with them anyway, as far as their long snapper. That's your feature this week.
Bobby Lishner, remember the name. Started out his high school career as an O lineman and a D lineman, just plugging away, filling gaps, blowing open holes. And last year, when Coach London was still there, last summer, going into his junior year, London calls him up and says, Bobby, I need a long snapper. Have you ever long snapped? No, Coach. Would you like to long snap? Okay, Coach, I'll give it a whirl. So he took up long snapping last year and really chiseled himself into one of the top long snapper kids around. Did some Coles kicking camps, actually, with Sam Hershey, our old buddy, who's now kicking in college. He went to the very prestigious Coles Scholarship Camp, invite only, in Tennessee this summer. Went there, got himself a 3.5-star rating, and he's showing up on recruiting radar all over the place. Been to Rutgers, been to Nova, been to Fordham, been to Penn, been to Lehigh. So he's trying to kind of parlay this newfound position into a college, getting on a college roster. So good for that kid. So Chris Knight and I were over there Tuesday chatting with him. Chris got another spectacular feature photo picture. Wait till you see this one. Oh my goodness. And I got a chance to write about Bobby. So, yeah, take a look for that.
It's an extremely specialized thing. It's long snapping.
Long snapping.
A thing that you can practice. A thing that you can practice and practice and practice. You can. Yep. So it's pretty cool that can happen.
Wasn't there a Penn Manor kid who went D1 in the last handful of years?
Yeah, his name escapes me, but he went to Syracuse and I believe he ended up getting a scholarship by his senior year. Greg, I forget his name.
He was on my podcast a few years back. Now I think about it.
The Royer The Royer kid from Manheim Central was snapping for Baylor a year ago.
That's right.
Yeah. And I didn't go into those guys as much in the story because I wanted the story to kind of be about Bobby. But the LL has produced a couple of kids that have gone on to long snap in college. So good for that guy. Yeah, I'll go Wilson. John, you mentioned Cam Jones. 70-yard punt return last week. He has two 70-yard punt returns for touchdowns this year. Cam Jones.
Nice.
He's been really good in special teams. Yeah, Wilson here. They're up to third in the league in D. Oh, by the way, they took some lumps early, but they figured it out here defensively. And they still have Hempfield and Township coming up later. So I'll go Bulldogs.
Yeah, me too. Wilson, no question.
Matt Keller was the Penn Manor alum who went to
Keller.
Syracuse and the long snapper, by the way. My apologies to Matt. Hope he's doing well. It's been 3 or 4 years since I talked to him. Anyways, all right, that does it for Section 1. Let's move on to Section 2. Manheim Central 0-1 league, 5-1 overall. Going to Cocalico 0-1 league, 2-4 overall. Warwick beat up, well, I shouldn't say beat up. They beat Manheim Central last week, 35-28. And Cocalico, meanwhile, is coming off a 28-14 loss to Cocalico. Jeff, you covered Manheim Central last week, and what was quite entertaining game, it appeared, at least on paper.
Yeah, Central took the opening kickoff and pow, 77 yards right down the field, scored, jammed it down their throat. And I thought, man, they're going to go 6-0. They're just taking no prisoners right now. Warwick punches back with 2 straight touchdowns. Central answers back, scores, tied. Warwick scores, Central scores, back and forth, back and forth. Central had the lead at half. And I thought, okay, Barons are still in pretty good shape here. They're scoring, they're giving up some chunks. But Warwick played a great second half, kept Central off the scoreboard. Jack Reed had an unbelievable game, 31 for 40 up top for 336. Cooper Eckert had 14 catches. He was unbelievable. So, yeah, Barons got nicked last week defensively. They still have the number 1 D in the league, but it's up to 225 yards a game. They've given up just under 500 rushing yards. They're going to be pretty angry, I would think, when they pull into Corryville. And I didn't realize this. Cocalico has 3 losses in a row, so they've hit a pothole in Corryville. So they're looking to snap out. Golden Mules won this game last year. We remember what Central did last year. They were 3-5. They lost to Cocalico in this game, 42-35. So I don't know what to expect here. Central's angry, looking to snap back, but they got to stop this Cocalico rushing attack that's still getting well over 200 yards a night. I have the Barons circled. I think they're going to be okay moving forward, but they've kind of flipped course here from a couple of weeks ago till now. So they're not back to the drawing board, but they need to get back to where they were quick. But I'll go Barons here.
Well, it's some combination of they're angry and but they also have to be shaken. They also have to be shaken.
Yeah, I
don't think there's any way around that. After what happened to them last year, everything was building in such a positive direction, and now this. I think it's a little bit of a tough spot for them. Here's what I think, though. They showed that they were vulnerable to a high-level passing game last week.
Yes.
That's just not Cocalico. That's not who Cocalico is. So I like the Barons.
Yeah, the Barons have given up 475 rushing yards through 6 games, which is top mark on the defensive side of the ball.
And that D line is really good, and they're I hear you.
All right, we're all going Manheim Central. Stand in Section 2, Cocalico 1-0 league, 3-3 overall. Going to Conestoga Valley, identical 1-0, 3-3 record. The Eagles, as we mentioned, coming off that 28-14 win over Cocalico. Meanwhile, the Buckskins, like they did last year, season's midpoint, seemed to kind of turn a corner here. They won 35-21 over Elizabethtown. I believe they've now won 2 straight. And just kind of looking at this one, CV kind of figure things out, but then again, look at the opponents, McCaskey and E-Town, but good for the Buckskins. We've kind of been waiting for them to get to this part. They're well balanced on offense. Nick Tran, 177 rushing yards last week. Quarterback McCoy Neasley, 178 passing yards. And he had a bunch of targets that he threw the ball to. So a lot of weapons that the Cocalico defense is going to have to contend with. And Cocalico kind of appears to start to getting healthy now that the running backs, the Flinton brothers, Steven and Brayson, are back. Austin Bong still hasn't played since week 2. I don't know what his status is, but it kind of feels like both of these teams have turned a corner. So I have Cocalico circled. I don't feel great about it, but I just think that the Eagles might start getting on a roll here, heading into some big showdowns later on in the season.
I kind of feel the same way. I think it's a very even game, and I like Cocalico a little. My sense is that they're getting healthy, and that makes a big difference. But we've said it every single week here. We really like CV's skill position guys and what they're capable of offensively. This is a really good game. It's a tough call. I like Cocalico a little.
Yeah. Notables galore on this game. Interestingly, of the 12 games this week, this is the only game of the 12 that it's a 1-0 against a 1-0, which is kind of weird.
I knew what you were going to say. As soon as you started that sentence, I knew you were going to say
that.
Yeah,
I mean, you would think there'd be another first place game this week, but there's not. Everybody's 1-0 against 0-1. Yeah. But Stevie Cocalico, this is for first place, and that's a big deal. And I know it's only week 2 a section, but in this section, with Warwick and Central still out there, that's pretty big. That's a pretty big deal.
Also, it's only week 2, but there's only 5.
That's it. So the winner here goes to 2-0. So don't underestimate that. That's a pretty big deal. Donegal LS, which we'll get to. Donegal's 0-0 because they haven't played a section game yet, and LS is 1-0. So that's technically for first place, but whatever. Cocalico, leading rusher in the league. We get a kid with 1,000 here already. Barassa, 1,020, and that's in 5 games for him because he missed a game earlier.
Right.
Oh. Yeah, and Tran's up to 698. So he's going to, he should be a 1,000-yard kid. So I love that matchup. Should be a lot of good running in this game. And last tidbit on this game. This is really interesting. District 3 power ratings. CV in 5A is number 14, last team in on the bubble. Cocalico in 4A is number 10, last team in on the bubble. So the loser here probably, depending on other scores, is off the bubble and is on the outside looking in here after this game. So this is a first place game for the section and a bubble game for districts for both of them. I have Cocalico circled, like Mike said and John said, they're getting healthy. Vang should be back, but I think he's only going to play linebacker. He has a wrist thing. But a couple of too many more weapons for Cocalico, and I like them here. I think they can win up front. So I'll go Eagles over Bucks.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out here, CV last week did hold E-Town to 2 yards per carry. So if they can kind of bring that effort, this could be a close one. But yeah, we're all going Cocalico here. Staying in Section 2, I believe the last matchup in Section 2, E-Town 0-1 league, 3-3 overall. Going to Warwick, 1-0 league, 3-3 overall. And how about those Warriors coming off the 35-28 win over Manheim Central? Meanwhile, we just mentioned E-Town coming off the 35-21 loss to Conestoga Valley. Just kind of going back over the Warwick schedule earlier this week. I mean, they're 2 plays away from being 5-1, probably 3 plays away from being 6-0. When you consider the week 4 and 5 losses, both in the final minutes on, I guess you could consider controversial circumstances and how the ball is able to be progressed in near the end of those games. And then the one that sticks out there, what was the week 1 loss to CD East? And you look back on that now, CD East is 5-1 this far. Their one loss being that 3-point loss to Manheim Township. So all that is to say, Warwick's right there with the best of the teams. I know their record doesn't look like it. And just kind of looking at this matchup in particular, might be, I don't know, all combined 500 plus passing yards on both sides, considering what Josh Rudy did last week for E-Town and considering what Cooper Eckert, Ryan Fink, and Jack Reed have done, the 2 wide receivers and the quarterback there for Warwick. So I like Warwick. I'm going to give them, 3 touchdown spread in this one.
Yeah, I think this is. I like the place Warwick is in right now a lot. I think this is a pretty emphatic check in the Warwick side for me.
Yes, John, they are one of the best teams in the league, and yes, they are a handful of plays away from probably being 6-0. Really impressive. So I'm hobbling down on my one good foot at Manheim Central after the game the other night, and I was reminded by a multitude of Warwick people on the field that none of you guys picked this. All of you guys picked Central in the paper this morning. Thank you.
So you motivated them to victory.
I guess we all did. So there you go.
Yeah.
Here, LMP staff. None of us picked Warwick, and that provided the motivation for the Warriors to beat the Bears. Okay.
For what it's worth,
Don't get
I'll just mention quickly, I got a text message from the father of Bryson and Stephen Flinton on Friday morning saying the boys were upset that I picked against Cocalico.
Oh.
So they're there. And then after they win, I get a text again saying, how about that? Something along those lines. So, we should get a little bit of credit there, right? Giving them that motivation. Anyway, go ahead.
Right.
It baffles my mind that whatever. Okay. End of thought. Next. Love what Warwick's doing here. I mean, I mentioned Reed earlier and Eckert and Fink, and Eckert's got 42 catches, leads the league. And the kid that gets overlooked is Christian Royer, who's a 600-yard rusher, and he's a horse. And he had a 66-yard touchdown run against Central. Huge play, 4th and inches, timeout. What's Warwick going to do? And they come out and they line up for, like a quick handoff, fullback trap. Let's just get the 1 yard and get it fresh set of downs. And bam, Royer goes 66 yards up the gut, untouched, touchdown. He's really, really good. So they have a ton of balance. Their O-line is underrated because, Rucci's gone, so we don't study that group like we have over the last couple of years. But I really like Warwick. And they'll win here and stay in first place. Warriors.
Yeah, and you consider they've also, that O-line has had the coaching of Todd Rucci over many years as well. So they're a veteran group, hopefully. All right, that's it for sections 1 and 2. This is the LL Football Roundtable Week 7, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College Technology. Let's get into section 3, gentlemen. Lebanon, 0-1, 0-6, going to Garden Spot, who hasn't played a league game this year yet because they were off last week. For various reasons, but they are 1-4 overall. And again, that's another team where their overall is kind of a little bit deceiving. They've played in a lot of close games to this point. Meanwhile, looking at Lebanon, Mike, since you're kind of our Lebanon County guy, tell us about the Cedars. It seems like they've turned a corner offensively.
Well, they have found a quarterback, not the guy who was playing the position at the beginning of the year, a kid named Emmanuel Mason, who threw for 210 yards and completed 2/3 of his passes last week, which the first month of the season, this team could not throw the ball at all. Couldn't even pretend to be a threat to throw it. 200 yards and 9.5 yards per attempt, and ran for 158 yards and almost 9 yards per attempt. So this is a different deal now for Lebanon. This is one of those games I was talking about at the beginning where I think there's upset potential. And this is the one I'm going to pick. I think the Cedars get 1 week out of the year to pull something off, and I like them in this spot. And I'm taking Lebanon.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this game. I really have no idea what to make of this game at all because Garden Spot's been sitting around for 2 weeks, and they had just beaten Pequay Valley 56-zip. So they had some mo and they had some juice, and they were finally had a W, and Sadowski was going to be back and healthy. Turf game at Garden Spot. I have the Spartans circled, but nothing would surprise me here. And this just has 47-40 written all over it. This could be fireworks and touchdowns, all kinds of stuff if it's a dry night. Love what Lebanon's doing. Mason, as mentioned, has figured it out, and I think Eisenberg has his quarterback. And I think Lebanon keeps making some baby steps, but I'm going to go Spot just because they're rested on the turf, and I think they're going to have probably a little more up front. So I'll go Sparty Nation here.
All right, I'll go Garden Spot as well. Staying in Section 3, Lancaster Catholic 0-1 league, 3-3 overall. Going to Ephrata, 1-0 league, 4-2 overall. The Crusaders coming off a 42-14 loss to LampeterStrasbourg. Meanwhile, the Mountaineers coming off a 48-32 win over Lebanon. Just kind of looking at the numbers here, Lancaster Catholic gave up nearly 300 rushing yards to LampeterStrasbourg last week. And the Mountaineers have one of the best backs in the league in Andre Weidman. I think he's going to have a big night, but then again, I could kind of see both of these teams. You talk about a blowout or a high-scoring Garden Spot Lebanon game. I think this could be much the same way. Not a lot of defense, a lot of scoring, but I think Ephrata comes out on top.
Yeah, I sort of my take on this was very similar to yours, John. I think this is a close one. I could easily envision either team winning, but we sort of had the idea at the beginning of the year that Lancaster Catholic was very good defensively, and are they going to be able to score enough? But you look at it right now, and they've had a hard time stopping the run, and they're facing a great running back. in this game. So, and Ephrata's at home, and this is a tough one, and this is not an easy call, but I like the Mounts a little.
Yeah, I have Ephrata circled. Weidman's a stud, by the way. He needs 59 yards for 1,000. He has 14 touchdown runs, leads the league, and he rushed for 254 and 5 touchdowns last week. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, good luck stopping him. So I have Ephrata circled here, and hey, don't forget I picked the Mounts to finish second in this section back in August. So I'm gonna keep riding them. I like what Catholic's doing, but they got to get the running game cranking a little bit this week because LS really shut them down. They held Tony Cruz to 25 yards, his season low. So we'll see if Catholic can kind of get the offense back on track. But I like Ephrata here at home. This could be some points in this game, but too much Weidman. I'll go Mounts.
All right, staying in Section 3, Donegal has not played a league game, so this is their league opener because the Indians were off last week for COVID reasons. Were scheduled to play Garden Spot. That game didn't happen, rescheduled for later in the year, yada, yada. Anyway, the Indians going to, they are 4-1 overall. They're going to LampeterStrasbourg, 1-0 league, 5-1 overall. This is probably obviously one of the better games on paper. I know we're probably all leaning towards one way, but this is another one where, looking at Donegal, it would not surprise me as far as them kind of coming in here. I know they're on the road and maybe pulling off an upset. If they're going to do anything this year, if they're going to pull off an upset, I think it would be here. I do want to mention last year's matchup because perhaps that plays a factor in here because I was at that game. Donegal came into this game against LS last year, missing 3 linemen to injury, and they got blown out 42-0 against a really good Lampeter-Strasbourg team. So perhaps revenge is on the minds of the Indians. But then again, the LS defense kind of has a way to make teams look silly. They're holding opponents to 233 yards per game, second best mark in the league, have given up just 75 points through 6 games, which is the best mark in the league. They're actually only one of 2 teams in the league to have held opponents under 100 points through week 6, Elko being the other one. So Donegal loves to run the ball. If LS can kind of put a lid on that, I'm not sure yet if the Indians can kind of go through the air. I have LS circled, but wouldn't surprise me if this is a closer one.
Yeah, I think it could be a competitive game, but these are 2 good teams, and I think LS is just the better team. I mean, and they're at home. I like the Pioneers, which is something we've all said a lot in recent years.
Love what Berkeley Wagner's doing at quarterback. Back-to-back 100 rush, 100 pass weeks in a row. Just lit up Catholic last week. Passed for 193, rushed for 104 with 5 touchdown keepers. Oh my gosh! So Wagner's really figuring it out. So their offense is moving, and their D, as John said, is number 2 in the league. They're just smoking hot. So I don't know if the week off helped or hurt Donegal because they were just playing so well. And they were so ready for that spot game last week, section opener, and they wanted to go in there and kind of make a statement like, here we are, we're coming to get you LS. And instead, no game. So they've had 2 weeks. I don't know if that helped or hurt, but I think Donegal puts up a good fight. But LS is just unbelievable right now. I'll go Pios.
Excellent visual aids there.
Like that. Boxing match. Yeah.
I did.
Fisticuffs.
I'm trying.
I was just kind of looking at LS schedule just to kind of find a similar opponent. We knew Donegal obviously loves to run the ball. LS back in week 2 or 3 played Solanco, and Solanco was able to churn out 205 rushing yards on what was 45 carries for an average of 4.5 yards per carry. Did the Mules go in that one? So perhaps there is some wiggle room there to move the ball on the ground, which is what Donegal's going to have to do. Maybe play a ground control game here. But anyways, we're all staying with LS, and we're running out of adjectives to describe the Pioneers here. Only week 7. All right, let's go to Section 4. We got 3 games left to break down yet this week, gentlemen. Pequea Valley 0-1 league, 1-4 overall, going to Anvil Cleona 1-0 league, 2-3 overall. The Braves coming off a 56-0 blowout loss to Elko. Anvil coming off a blowout win 41-0 over Northern Lebanon. Jeff, I'll credit you on these stats. Anvil Cleona last week posted its first shutout since 2009, held Northern Lebanon to 113 total yards, and the Dutchman had 3 running backs go over the century mark. They've amassed 1,291 rushing yards, which is a lot, obviously, and the Braves are yielding 414 yards a game, which is the bottom of the league's defensive charts. So I think it's going to be much the same here. Anvil Cleona wins big.
Agreed. Nothing to add.
Jeff?
Nice analysis. John, you stole all my nuggets.
Yeah,
Right.
John really covered it there. Nice job, big guy.
Yeah. No, my favorite one out of that stack of notes was the 3 100-yard backs. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That's how they play. And
That's how they play. They had 412 yards last week. They were all on the ground. They had no pass completions. I think they were 0 for 1. But yeah, McGuire had 152 and a touch. Harder had 112 and a touch. And Phoenix Music had 100 yards on the dot with 2 touches. So, yeah, Anvil here. Peckway struggled. They've lost 56 zip the last 2 weeks in a row. So Braves need some good news. Maybe they get some here, but Dutchmen win. I'll go Anvil.
All right. Northern Lebanon 0-1 league, 3-3 overall. Going to Columbia 1-0 league, 4-1 overall. Mike, you covered the Crimson Tide last week, and what was a shootout? Tell us about that one.
well, it was a absolutely ridiculous game. It was a soggy mess of a football game that included 21 penalties. That included 12 holding penalties, and you know. There was more annoying than there was anything else at that night, but I'll tell you what I did come away with it. Very, very impressed with Robert Footman, who is Columbia's quarterback, and he is a terrific player. Big arm, quick release, accurate. Looks like he has the vision thing for a quarterback. Knows how to throw guys open. They can't kick extra points, so they go for 2 every time, and he can make that throw where you got 10 or 12 bodies in the end zone, and he can find the guy and throw the dart to the guy. And in addition to that, his running was a huge factor in the game late after they got Octorara spread out, and Octorara is a good team. They beat a good opponent when they were missing, according to their coach, half a dozen players, including their leading rusher, due to COVID concerns. As much as is possible in football, which is not very much, one kid carried a team to a win in a crazy shootout of a game. So Robert Footman, you're the man, and I like Columbia.
Yeah, agreed on Footman. He's been unreal. And he had one of those 100 nights last week, 270 plus passing, 100 rushing, 4 touchdown keepers. He threw 5 2-point conversion passes last week. Some teams haven't had 5 2-point conversions like ever. And he had 5 in one game. So he's a special.
Be interesting to see how he translates to college, because he's 6 foot. He's got a sturdy body. He's listed at 180. He's a solid kid, and he can run.
He'll be a steal.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but what a player. Really impressed with him.
Really good. He's on the short list for MVP candidates right now. Barassa's probably on there, and he's got to be on there. Weidman's probably on there. Jack Reed's probably on there. Yada, yada. Tied here. Northern Lebanon, hey, they were 2-1, and we're back, and now they've kind of hit a little speed bump, 3 losses in a row against some tough teams. I ran into LS there in the crossover. Columbia at home here, way too much Footman, way too many kids to try and mark. Their wideouts are crazy. Tied here, they stay in first place.
Yeah, Columbia's thing's going to be staying healthy, kind of moving forward. They're number 2 in the District 3 2A power ratings. The top 4 make it there, but they're doing something special there up on the hill in Columbia, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about them come another month or two, or a month and a half from now. Are the Tide. All right, last game. Let's see. Section 4, Octorara 0-1 league going to. 0-1 league, 4-2 overall, going to Elko 1-0 league, 2-3 overall. Octorara, we just mentioned, coming off that 48-46 loss to Columbia. Meanwhile, Elko coming off a blowout win, 56-0 over Peckway Valley. So you got to think the Raiders are feeling good here. And Mike, you covered Octorara last week, and obviously that game could have went either way. We could be looking at a 1-0, 5-1 team. I do want to mention last 3 matchups between these teams, Octorara and Elko, have been decided by 1-score margins. 2020 it was an Elko. All 3 are Elko wins the last 3 matchups. Elko 22-19, and then 2 years ago Elko 14-6. 3 years ago Elko 21-14. So this feels like another really close game. But Mike, you covered Octorara last week. What do they bring to the table? Do the Braves?
They have a lot of weapons. They have a good quarterback. They're a good team. They're a good team. I'll be interested to see how many holding penalties they get the rest of the year, because was it something about their technique that this particular officiating crew? I mean, this was beyond ridiculous. What I saw on Friday night, and it also means that I think this is a really interesting place for them emotionally, because they're about, as far as winning the section, they're about done if they don't win this game. And there's no question, this is just the truth. They think they got jobbed last week. I mean, that's just reality. So how do you respond to that? I don't know. This is a tough one. I think this is a very even game. This is the toughest pick of the week.
Yep.
I like Octorara a little. And again, I'm really interested to see how they respond to what happened to them last week.
Yeah, I saw Jed King's comments, Octorara's coach, after the Columbia game, and he tells it like it is. Jed doesn't pull any punches. He's a good dude, and yeah.
And he said a couple of things that, and this is not a criticism of him at all, but he said a couple of things that he asked me not to.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not to put in the paper, and that's not a criticism of him at all. I mean, he was frustrated and understandable.
Yeah, that's rough. And I know that Octorara has dealt with the C word for the last 3 weeks, and I still say that's why they lost to Phoenixville. So
yeah,
Octorara is like, what, couple of plays,
yeah,
6 points from being undefeated.
Yep, that's
7
right.
points, less than a touchdown for being undefeated. I struggled with this game a ton because it's also a revenge game. That game last year was the game when Braden Bohannon had the 3 picks, including the pick at the end when he fingertipped at the 50-yard line and went up and got it.
One of the games of last year in terms of what it meant and just how great a game it was. Yeah.
It was awesome. And it's a game that I'll remember for a while. It really was. I mean, I didn't expect that going to Octorara Elko on a Friday night in October, but it turned out to be just a whopper of a game. So Octorara has the revenge factor. You know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to buy on Elko. And I know they had a weird stretch. I know they've had some injuries. From what I can gather through the grapevine, Jake Williams may be back this week. Is he going to be 100%? Don't know. Is he going to have rust? Oh, yeah. But he's a kid who's a difference maker. I don't know where Octorara is going to be mentally, and I really like Elko at home. Cole Thomas has been great running the ball. Luke Williams he might be on that MVP candidate list. He's been awesome. And I just think when push comes to shove, Elko's going to walk by that banner in their gym all week and say, we're the section champs, and if we want to repeat, we got to beat Octorara because they gave us an unbelievable game last year. So for all those reasons and more, I'll take Elko at home.
Yeah, in terms of the section, there's a lot on the line in this game.
This is huge.
I mean, for even though we're kind of in the middle of the season here.
No, it's huge.
A lot on the line here. Yeah.
Yep, because Elko has Columbia out there, and that could be a whopper game.
Yep.
But I just don't know why. But the longer I looked at the numbers and crunched them, I'm going Raiders.
Yeah, this is another tough one for me. I know every week I'm a defense wins championships guy, and Elko is one of only 2 teams in the league to have held opponents under 100 points through 6 weeks. They also had 3 interceptions last week over Pequea Valley, which is worth noting considering the Octorara quarterback Weston Stoltzfus has not yet thrown an interception this season. Still, with that being said, Octorara a couple plays away from being 6-0. Hopefully, they're going to be fired up as opposed to having a hangover. And I like Octorara, but I really don't feel any good about it. All right, that does it for the Week 7 games as we head into this Friday. And gentlemen, since we did this last week, let's do it again. The playoff window, as of now, going into Week 7, 12 LL League teams are in the District 3 playoff bubble through 6 weeks. Where do we want to start here? Want to go 2A and work our way up to 6A?
Yeah.
Sure. All
right, so
take it.
Columbia, as we mentioned a little bit ago, they're number 2 in the District 3 2A power ratings. They trail only York Catholic, who is 5-0. And that's worth noting. York Catholic this week plays Fairfield 4-1. So there's still a lot of games to be played left that are still out there, obviously, which we'll talk about here in the next few minutes. But Columbia is looking good, and they're putting together something special here. If I'm starting to buy in. I think they could be a deep postseason team.
Yeah, I
If they
think
do what they should do, they'll make districts.
yeah, I think they can get maybe one more loss.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they can lose one more and still get in. And don't forget, they're only going to get 9 games because which game of theirs got postponed? I forget. Ooh, I'm drawing a blank. But one of their games they had to
That
postpone.
doesn't necessarily hurt them though.
And it won't hurt them because it's one less loss that they could get. So yeah, I think they could probably lose one more and still be top 4 with a really good chance to win it. Yeah, I love what Columbia's doing.
All right, and then in 3A, Wyomissing 6-0. They sit atop the District 3A power ratings. Wyomissing plays Twin Valley this week, which is 4-2 overall. They're a 5A school, and in 3A, trailing them. Am I looking at? No, I'm saying 2A, aren't I? Yeah, I have these completely wrong.
Wyomissing's 3A.
All right.
Columbia's 2A. Let's point out Wyomissing.
Yeah.
Southern Columbia, which is a small school, which is maybe the most consistent ongoing power in the entire state of Pennsylvania over the last 30 years, got housed by Wyomissing last weekend.
Yes.
Wyomissing is beyond an overwhelming favorite in the district, at least, for sure, in AAA. They are really rolling. And this is one of those wing T teams.
Yep.
What they do is old school,
Southern
in
Columbia.
3A, the top 8 teams make it. Lancaster Catholic sitting at the 5 line. Northern Lebanon's at 7. Anvil Kaluna is at 8. So you talk about must-win games just to kind of stay in that playoff window. That's very much kind of starting to come into fruition there.
Southern Columbia's winning streak was 65 in a row, by the way.
And now it's over.
And now it is over. Tough road there for the AAAs. And I hate to say this, prove me wrong, prove it as John says. I don't know if any of them get in.
Wow. All right. Class 4A, let's go there. Top 10 teams make it there. I'm sorry. Bricks Catholic is atop the 4A power ratings. They are 4-1 overall. However, they do have a couple games, really tough games left to play. One of them, both of them being 5A programs. One against Exeter is 4-2 overall. We know about Exeter. We talked about them a bunch this year. Governor Mifflin might be the best team in the state at 6-0, and the rest of Governor Mifflin's games don't look all that mighty challenging, if you ask me. Meanwhile, as far as LL League teams in the 4A playoff window, again, top 10 get in there. Cocalico is at the 10 line. Donegal is the 6 line, and LampeterStrasbourg is at the 4 line. And Octorara is at number 12. So you talk about that game that we just broke down there with Elko, not only for the section, but just kind of keep playoff hopes alive. The Braves will need to win that one.
Yeah, the Columbia game was Ephrata that got postponed because Ephrata went and played Boone. LS is safe. Cocalico, as mentioned, is bubble, and they play CV, which is bubble in 5A. And Cocalico still has to play Central in week 10 and Warwick.
Right.
So Cocalico better watch out. Same with Donegal. And remember, they're only going to get 9 because they have a section game to make up with Garden Spot. So Donegal's going to have to keep winning here.
Yeah, that hurt them.
Yeah, that may end up hurting them somewhere, not getting a winnable game in. Cocalico flip a coin. They're gonna have to beat CV, I think, at the very least, to have a chance.
In 5A, top 14 teams would make it. Right now, Conestoga Valley is number 14, Ephrata is number 13, Warwick's number 10, Manheim Central is number 4. And just kind of look at the schedules earlier today, Governor Mifflin, it looks like they're pretty much a lock to get that top spot if they can take care of business here. Spring Groves at the number 2 line, which is worth pointing out because they still have tough games left against Central York, who's 6-0, Dallastown 4-2. Dallastown, remember, beat Manheim Township. So if you ask me, I think Spring Grove will eventually fall and Manheim Central will move up. But those teams kind of further on down the line there. Warwick has a couple big games left, and Ephrata, as we mentioned, and Conestoga Valley right there, kind of have to win to keep their playoffs. So
John,
playoff hopes alive.
Who's number 3 in that class?
Number 3 in that class in District 3 5A, Shippensburg. They're 6-0 overall. They have Northern York, West Perry, East Penn, and Greencastle's left for Shippensburg. I don't know anything about those teams.
First couple of teams you mentioned are ranked in their classes. The last team I want to play in that bracket right now, other than Mifflin, is Warwick. And I know Warwick still has to play Cocalico in week 10, so they're going to be coming off a tough game into that bracket. But the last team I want any part of right now is Warwick. Central will be safe. The object in 5A is to avoid Mifflin as long as you possibly can, especially if you think you can win it. So you want the 2 seed, you want the 3 seed, no, 4. 2 and 3 would play 1 in the semis or finals. You want the 2 or the 3. If you're good, 1 loss, 2 loss team, and you have a shot to win it, you want the 2 or the 3.
So it would behoove Manheim Central to win out, obviously.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I still think Central's going to find it. I mean, hey, it happens.
I'm not sure they lost it.
Probably didn't. They just ran into a really hot team.
The Warwick story is kind of unique. I mean, yeah.
It is. And this is a year where there's not a lot of undefeated teams, and there's probably not going to be a lot of undefeated teams when it's all said and done. Central York, Mifflin, there'll be a couple teams that go 10-0, 9-0, but there's going to be some 2 and 3 loss teams that are going to get to district finals. Watch.
Especially in the class that we were about to talk about next.
Yes.
Yeah, 6A, Central York is atop the 6A power ratings at 6-0, but they still have a couple tough games left, I believe, against Dallastown and York High, who are also like in the top 8. 6A, the top 8 make it. Looking at it right now, LL teams that are outside the playoff window worth mentioning. Wilson's at number 12, Penn Manor's at number 11, and then inside the playoff window, Township's at 7, Hempfield is at 6. But you look at all those teams ahead of Township and Hempfield, York High, Central Dauphin, Harrisburg, CD, Central York. Central York has a couple tough games left, as I just mentioned, but CD East, Harrisburg, Central Dauphin, like they're all going to play each other and beat up on each other. So that's very much in flux, and Hempfield and Township still have to play each other yet. So there's still a lot of games left out there.
Yeah, the team that better watch out is Wilson. They got a lot of teams to jump, and they still have to play Township and Hempfield. So
they have to win out.
Wilson's got that's 4 or 5 teams they have to jump, and that's a lot, even with their schedule. So Wilson's on standby here.
In 6A, some teams are not going to make it who could conceivably win it or get to the final. And there are going to be some teams that do make it that would be underdogs if they played the other teams, the teams that don't. I mean, I just think it's 6A is similar in football this year to the way it often has been in basketball since they went to this 6A format, where there's a lot of depth but not an overwhelming dominant team. Maybe Central York is certainly the favorite, I guess. York High's playing very well now, by the way. They're rolling. They're rolling. I like Manheim Township, but they almost have to win these games. Hempfield, Wilson Township, those are going to be dog fights with a lot on the line.
Agreed 1,000%. But Wilson's on notice. If Bulldogs want to get back in, they don't want to miss 2 years in a row playoffs. Nice. That'd be crazy. So keep an eye on Wilson here moving forward. I think they're bubblish right now, so we'll see.
And our apologies to all the LO coaches for us looking ahead. I know how much you guys just love us doing that. It's part of the show where we ask, where are you at? Where are you guys going to be this Friday?
I will be at Fabulous Myerstown for the Elko Octorara battle.
That's going to be good. I envy you, Mike. I'll be in Lampeter for LS Donegal. See if LS can make it 6 wins in a row. See you there.
And I will be in Nestville, the alma mater Penn Manor, going to Manheim Township. Commons looking to get back on track. Township looking to keep rolling as they have a couple big games left ahead. And this is part of the show where I also like to mention the vocabulary. Pretty much all these are from Mr. Reinhardt. Snappy, describing how Hempfield feels in practice. Slobberknocker, describing the Hempfield Crest matchup. Devilish, describing Hayden Johnson's 666 passing yards through the last 3 weeks. Chiseled, the work put in by the McCaskey lineman turned long snapper. And Horse, describing Warwick running back Christian Warrior. So hats off to you, Mr. Reinhardt, for going deep in the thesaurus there.
Thank you. I try.
The gun show. It's a gun show.
All right. And lastly, I just want to mention the PIAA has designated this week as Officials Appreciation this week. So as much as we can, fans, parents, coaches, let's go easy on the referees. And this is coming from a former boys lacrosse referee. So I know the work that these guys.
Spent so much time talking about that Octorara Columbia game there.
Yeah. Do you think
and
card. Did Jed King send the official rep a card this week?
And I know Eton wasn't too happy with what happened last week, and there were some unfortunate circumstances that happened on Spring Grove last Friday as well. So let's all take a breath and appreciate the work that these officials do. Oftentimes, me speaking from experience, they're working full-time jobs and they're doing this referee thing on the side, but they still put in the work, watching videos, studying a 100-plus page rule book, and they know their stuff. They're trying their best, just like all of us, and what is a really difficult time in everybody's life amidst the pandemic and all that stuff. So, all right, that does it for me. I'll get off the soapbox. This has been Week 7 show, LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College Technology. For Jeff Reinhart and Mike Gross, I'm John Walk. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.